Going to look today at the software that you use on your smartphone to connect to the Zoom F2. So I'm turning the Zoom F2 on and I'm going to start the application. It's looking for Bluetooth devices, and there it is, the F2 and then that serial number. So I touch it and I have connected. You can see on the input meter that my voice is being picked up by the microphone. Looking at the top of the iPhone screen, it tells me, right now it's 0 because I'm not recording, it tells me how many seconds I've recorded. On the right it tells me it's an alkaline battery and that with the SD card I have in it, I have 92.5 hours worth of time left on that SD card. My file name at this point is number 2. It tells me the format, that the low-cut filter is off, and that I don't have a note. The output volume is below the input. The 4 white rectangles are the fast forward, stop, and play buttons for the Zoom F2. So let's talk about the menu. The first item is a finder, which is confusing for me as a Mac user, and that gives me information about the SD card. It shows that I've got 60 gigs free with 93.5 hours left. The low-cut filter, as I said, is off. I can turn it on or off, and I'll leave it off. The record settings, I can choose 44.1K or 48K on 32-bit floating point. I can choose a file name, user-defined, or I can choose the date, 2021 February 3, so let's choose the date. And I can put a file note in here if I choose. So let's record. Now the red dot at the top goes on and it starts counting forward in the number of seconds, minutes, and hours I've recorded. And the input shows that I'm picking stuff up. Now that's very important. This is really the only thing on here that's of any value to me. I know that whatever Zoom F2 this is connected to is actually picking something up on the microphone. I'm going to walk around the corner of a concrete wall. I don't know how far Bluetooth goes. You can tell that the microphone isn't picking me up anymore, but it's still recording. And when I walk around the corner for a long time, and when I've walked around the corner of the concrete wall, it loses the connection. So you can see the timer has stopped. The application is looking for Bluetooth devices and it's not finding any. Okay, so I've walked back into range, I reconnect again, and watch the timer. It's caught up itself to how much time the recorder's been on and tells me that it's still recording, and I'm back in range so that my voice is being picked up for the microphone. So this is very interesting. With other field recorders, when you put it on the subject and send them on their way, you can't tell what they've screwed up. You can't tell if they somehow got it off hold and disconnected the microphone even though it's screwed in, pressed the record button and stopped the recording, or done anything wrong that means you aren't getting sound anymore. So with one Zoom F2, I don't think this will connect to more than one. With one Zoom F2 and this recording software, you can know that you're recording because you get the feedback on the application, and you know that the Zoom F2 is actually picking something up, although you don't know why. So let me go back to those 4 white rectangles that show fast forward and reverse, stop, and play. They don't work on the phone. You have to have a headphone connected, and you can control playback fast forward, reverse, and stopping from the phone, not from the device, because it's lost control of itself. It's all handled by the phone. But you can't hear it over the phone. You have to have a headphone plugged into the headphone jack, and then you tell it to play and what file to play. So that's of less interest to me than knowing that I've got a recording going on. I'm very happy with that one feature. This is the Macintosh application F2 editor for the Zoom F2. I do not know why it's called an editor. You can do no editing with this application. In fact, when you click on F2 editor, nothing happens. You don't get an open file, new file. You don't even quit. If you type Command Q, the application doesn't quit. The only way to quit the application is to click the red button and close this. I have my Zoom F2 turned on and connected by USB to my iMac. With the application, you can turn the low-cut filter off and on, set the output volume for your headphones, choose your recording format of 32-bit float at 44.1 or 48 kilohertz. You can give it a format for the file names. I use the date. I can set the time. Whatever time my iMac says it has just been sent to the F2, and you see the feedback. Let me click again. There's no indication that it was successful. I guess it never fails. You can set the battery type. You can tell it when it auto powers off. I have the Bluetooth function on my Zoom F2, and it will allow you to use a time code sync device. And I don't have one of those, so I don't use that at all. I do use the Bluetooth function to control the Zoom F2 to the extent I can from my iPhone. I can do a factory reset. Let me do a card format. Now, my iMac tells me that the disk was not ejected properly, which I don't care about. And then the disk shows up again on my desktop, so I know it's completed a format. So there's your application. You cannot do these functions from the device itself. You use the Macintosh application to format the card and to enter these various settings, some of which you can do from your iPhone, which I've shown already. So here we are. It's an almost interfaceless device with an almost interfaceless application to control it.